A very good evening to all the viewers, to all the people who are watching this live session and who are gonna watch this live session after some time, who gonna add after some time. So with me, there are two guests with us. First is Miss Humit Hausen, ma'am. I welcome you, ma'am. She is the Assistant Professor of Department of Anthropology of Guwahati University. A very welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
And secondly, we have Dr. Nazia Parveen, ma'am, who is the principal of Khairun Nesa Begum Women's College, Badarpur, Assam. And ma'am has been awarded for Dr. Radhakrishnan Postdoctoral Fellowship, University Grants Commission. A very welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
So today is a very special occasion for all of us. We all have been students in our life. These guests have also been students at some phase of their life. And right now, I'm also a student of Assam University doing my postgraduate Master in Commerce. So we all have been students. Today is a very special day for us, that is Teachers' Day. Every year, we celebrate Teachers' Day with our teachers. But this year, the situation has been a little bit different because of the worldwide phenomenon COVID-19. So we all are right now in our home and just putting WhatsApp status, putting the photos of our teachers with us. So it's a little bit sad, but we don't have other alternative. We have to be like this only because of safety reasons. So Teachers' Day, the day which has been made for teachers, all the year they teach us the whatever they know, like the knowledge they possess. They treat us with care, with love. Every teacher is not same. Some are strict, people don't like them much. Some are soft, some are very friendly to us. So there are various types of teachers, various types of students. We all have different connections with all the teachers. So that is the chemistry that we have with our teachers. So without delaying much time, let's move on to the first question that I want to ask to Humit Hausen, ma'am. So ma'am, the first question that I want to ask to you is, what are the problems that a teacher is facing right now in this COVID pandemic situation? Because the situation is not favorable now. Teachers are facing various problems, like how to teach students, how to collect assignments, as there are online facilities, but we can't compare online and offline. It's a difference of day and night. So there are various problems that a teacher is facing. They have their official administrative works. They have pressure from higher authorities. So ma'am, can you explain in detail what a teacher, like especially you're a professor, so you must have some more responsibilities comparably. So ma'am, can you explain it?
All right. Thank you, Coloma Express, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this Facebook Live program. Well, to answer your question, I can in fact give a long list of problems that teachers are facing, as well as everyone else, all the educational institutions and the authorities of these institutions, and the students, of course. Everyone is facing a problem. You have already mentioned in the question itself about the issue of online teaching. That is a major issue because we cannot meet the students face to face, so we have to resort to some other ways of connecting to them, and we cannot stop the classes all of a sudden like that because the course will be hampered. So of course online classes are being encouraged as much as possible. However, again, the issue arises of non-accessibility of students. You cannot access them, uh, especially when there are network issues, and somewhere, forget about network problems, there is no connectivity at all, no chance for internet, and forget about internet, not even possibility for a phone call. So there are many students living in such areas. So there, the teachers face a big problem. And previously, I had taken part in another webinar where it was basically on this topic, like what problems do teachers, students, as well as everyone else face, the challenges. So it was quite evident. Everybody was pointing out, and also I had done a small survey based on that. It was so prominent that specifically for those teachers who are teaching students from remote areas, it is just impossible to access them, impossible to connect to them. So And even those students who are living in an area where there is an accessibility, there are still network issues. I mean, even we face network problems. It is so difficult to connect through online mode. Secondly, I would say that many of the teachers still, I won't say all, of course, many of the teachers do not feel that kind of, you can say, comfort or familiarity by conducting online classes as they would do in a physical classroom teaching. Because number one, there may be issues about technicalities and all, and secondly, it's completely different. You cannot pay that kind of attention to the whole deliberation as you would pay in a classroom, physical classroom. So there is a distraction, and then you do not know if you are actually being able to deliver your lectures properly. That is there. And of course, as I already mentioned, the problem of the teachers not being able to be familiar with the usage of technicalities. Some of the teachers, they are not comfortable using all these applications and social media. So now suddenly they have to adapt to all these new things. That is another problem, I would say. So I think these are the major issues, but there are more. I can add more, but I think these are the major ones.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for explaining it in detail. There are numerous problems that the teachers are facing, the students as well. So there's one comment by 1000D. Happy Teachers Day. Same to you, 1000D,
Thank you.
whoever you are.
Thank you.
Happy Teachers Day to you also. Today is a very auspicious day for all of us. We all love this day. We all say Happy Teachers Day. We all wish Happy Teachers Day to our teachers today. I think every day we should celebrate Teachers Day, but I think there's a special day given to us like Father's Day, Mother's Day. So there should be a special day for teachers also. So like this. So next question that I want to ask Dr. Nazia ma'am is that it's related to the first question, like the problems that are being faced by the students who are residing in backward areas, like especially villages, right? So they have network issues. Some parents are very poor. They do have financial conditions, so they can't afford smartphones. Like it is pretty costly, right? 7,000-8,000 is the minimum amount for any smartphone nowadays. So they can't afford it. So if the student is facing that kind of problem, so how do you connect with them? If they are to be shifted to the next class, if they are to be succeeded to the next class, right? If we have to shift to the next class, it's an order from higher authority. So should we do it? Should the students be transferred to the higher classes? And if so, then in the next year, how can we cover up their syllabus? Because they are lagging behind compared to the other students who are living in towns, because they have their assignments completed. They have at least some idea of the course, right? Like the previous year that they have studied. So they have at least some idea, but the students who are residing in backward areas, they don't have any idea at all. So how shall we cover up their syllabus and how to make them equitable to the other students comparatively? So ma'am.
Yeah, so whatever the co-speaker has said, it is absolutely right. There are a number of problems facing by the teachers, students, and basically from the rural area, as you said, from the rural area, students are facing more problems. Okay, but thing is that about the promotion of the students and about the assignments. I think the promotion will not be a problem because they are studying up to March. They have already studied somehow. Somehow they have already covered some portion of the syllabus. After the March only, we are in a lockdown situation. The students are not coming in the colleges. But through the online classes, though there is a barrier, but still every teacher has done their part. Every government teachers and private teachers, they have done their part as possible. They have covered, somehow they have covered the syllabus. Maybe in our college, I can say that we have covered our 90 to above 90% syllabus. Same way in the government colleges also, there may be some less percentage, but they have covered, teachers has covered the syllabus. So the promotion can be done, but I will suggest the the procedure must be related with the physical examination or the online examination, or by the assessment of the student through online or offline, whatever is possible according to the situation. And in that case, if rural students are getting problems in online, they can communicate through the phone also. Okay, through the conference call, through other sources, they can apply it and they can contact with particular teachers, so that their syllabus and their other queries about the studies can be met up. Okay, so every situation has problem. In our social circumstances, we will find there will be a problem. No situation in any time we will not get 100% in any situation. There must be an unfavorable situation. If there is a physical class also, there will be a problem. We will not get 100% favorable situation. We have to cope up with this. I agree that in our students in rural areas, they are not comparable with the metro city students or other metropolitan cities students, but we have to accept it and we have to compete it. We have to come back with the 100% that yes, we will fight back. That should be the motto of student, teacher, everyone. So if we have that in ourselves, surely we can succeed.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Very well explained by you, ma'am. And India is never rid of the problems. You know, we can never get rid of problems. There are various problems in our country. India is the country that always faces various types of problems. So there will be problems in offline situation also. Like ma'am said, there are numerous problems that the students are facing right now in universities, colleges, schools. There are various problems, especially in our area, which is kind of backward, like Silchar, Badarpur, Karimganj, compared to the other areas outside Northeast. They have higher institutions with higher officials like that. So the third question that I want to ask to ma'am, to Miss Humit Hausen ma'am, is that what should be the approach of a teacher? Like, should a teacher be more in a practical sense? Like, should she or she teach in a more practical sense nowadays? Because theoretical study is kind of a traditional one. Now the students should know what is the practical use of that concept, because with only that practical use of that concept, he'll get to apply it in the real life. Because education means imparting knowledge and not marks. Nowadays people just run for the marks. They want to crack competitive exams, they want to get government jobs. Everyone, majority of the population, majority of the students want that. So the government is responsible, right? The education system should be molded in a way. Yeah. So but what should be a teacher's approach? Should he or she conduct more PPT sessions so that students can understand in a better way? Should he or she give more practical examples that students can relate with? So what is your personal approach towards students, so that you can connect, you can interact with them in a more better manner?
In my opinion, I would say that it would be completely dependent on the teacher and his or her equation with the students, because it will not be convenient if you make a uniform, you can say, the same kind of rules for everyone, that you have to conduct so and so, you have to use this particular application only, or you have to apply this approach only, because each teacher has their own technique of teaching. And also the students have to be kept into consideration. If they are familiar with certain techniques, there should be a kind of interaction between the teachers and the students, so that they can come to a point where they understand what kind of approaches can be applied. For example, when it comes with talking about my own experience, what I had done, some of the teachers I had also had interactions with my senior teachers and others. They have adopted, most of them have adopted this Zoom and such other applications, where they have these online classes, just like we are having right now. I mean, of course this is Facebook Live, but where they have a video conferencing. But I did not opt for that. I did something else. So what I did was I recorded my audio, my audio lessons and made them some files, and then I sent it to them either through WhatsApp or through mail. So I also asked the students if they were all right with this or not. So what I would say is, first of all, you have to see what you feel comfortable with and whether the students will be comfortable with it or not. To some extent, you have to do a little bit of experimentation also, because you don't know. Now, suddenly there is this lockdown, suddenly you have to adopt all these things. So you're not sure whether it will work or not. So there is this trial and error method, of course. So if it does not work, then you will know, and accordingly, you will have to adopt what is more convenient. So that is what I had done. And of course, we need to keep in touch with all the other our colleagues, what they have done, so that we can just upgrade ourselves. What can be done? And unfortunately, I mean, till the present times, there is no such proper framework from the government side for a certain, regulations for online education, and the online education to be in a specific way. There is no such guidelines. So we will have to do it on our own. We have to find out the way on our own. So uh, I my answer would be that there is no specific approach to this. You have to try everything and see what works best for you. There are so many things, so many applications, so many approaches. So have some discussions with your students, what would work the best, and then you apply. That is what I would say.
Thank you, ma'am. As ma'am said, there are various number of options nowadays. There is no any shortage of any technology. There are so many softwares available. So Albish Dimasa has also commented Happy Teachers Day. Happy Teachers Day to you too. And there's one question from Hussein Noor. So ma'am, this I'd like to ask Miss Nazia ma'am. As the
Yes.
time are passing, the number of students are receiving their education from the educational institutions, but why can't the society is getting more benefit from the educated fraternity? Where is the gap, and how can this gap be bridged? So ma'am, would you like to answer this question by Hussein
Yeah,
Noor?
sure. Yeah, sure. So, as the gap is telling, so I think the teacher fraternity, the educated fraternity must be, as Homi said, must be the student centric. And student centric, it doesn't mean only the student, teachers is bound to convey their messages to the student. Student also have to come out and have to search that, with whom I have to contact, with whom I will get the material. They have to come forward also. So the gap will be minimized when the both side activities will be done. Okay, there are many people who want to come forward, who want to give something, but their receivers are less in number. So I think the both the groups, the students and teachers, they have to come in one platform. As teachers are agreed to give something, student also they have to come and they have to ask for that. So, as teachers are always student centric, and nowadays it is one of the most important method of teaching, that we must have modified our methods according to the students. Might be in rural areas, the model will be totally different from the urban areas. We have to depend upon the students. So, in the like way, student also they have to come out and they have to search for their requirements. I think in that way we will minimize the gap. Is it? I think Sir Noor sir will be okay with it, or otherwise we'll continue the session. Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, ma'am. So I think Hussein Noor ji will get the answer. I think you explained very well. So as ma'am said, there is a give and take. There is a give and take connection between the students and teachers. We can't
Yes,
fully be
exactly.
dependent on the teachers only. Students should participate actively also. Like we can't blame teachers that they are not doing this, they are not doing that. Students should be active. They should come out in the groups and talk to the teachers. Like, what is the problem? How can you find a solution? So Hussein Noor has asked another question. Is online education a blessing or curse to the society? So Humi ma'am, would you like to answer this question? In a short way also you can answer this, as it's a very extensive topic, a blessing or curse. Like this we used to write in the essays in the school time. So it's a very extensive topic. You can explain it in short.
Okay. This particular question is actually a debatable one, but it should be taken as a blessing, I would say, because at a time when we cannot connect with each other, especially on this education front, it is only through online basis that we, of course, we can also make phone calls and messages, but online platforms gives us a very major uh, opportunity, a vast opportunity for interaction and the whole teaching learning process deliberation. So it is something that should be taken as a blessing. However, there are problems, as in the beginning I had already stated, the issues of non-accessibility. So looking at that, it becomes a curse. There have been many issues where students and so many parents and others, they have denied this whole, I mean, this mode of teaching. But we just cannot help it right now because there is no permanent solution. Unfortunately, we do not have a permanent solution currently to this situation. So whatever is possible, we have to try to adopt that. So I would say this is a debatable topic, but I would take it as a blessing if taken on a positive note.
Thank you, ma'am. Definitely, if there's a COVID-19 situation, a specific situation that has been given to us, then it's of course a blessing, because now we have no other alternative left. We have to study online, right? We have to connect online. And online study gives us one thing, that we can have eye contact with teachers, and that is really very important. Like in call, we have that voice thing, but in an online class, we can see our teachers, teachers can see us. So that online thing gives us the same feeling like offline. So we can see our teachers. So that is a bit different, and that gives a part of advantage to us. So next
Also,
question that I'd last. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
yes, man, I would like to add on that it also gives us the opportunities. It maximizes the limits of opportunities. Now the students from the rural areas, if want to contact with the homie ma'am, they can contact. They can download the lectures from the JNU, from the other institute also. So it should minimize the gap, and it's a progressive thing. So I also support that it's a blessing.
Okay, ma'am. So both the guests in our arena accept this thing as a blessing. So I think Hussain Noor, you would also think it as a blessing only. It is a curse in a sense, but I think a major portion is a blessing.
Blessing.
So next question, which is for Nazia ma'am, is that it has been asked by Debobrato Langtasa. As
Yes.
you are a principal of women's college, I hope you would have much more knowledge about the problems or advantages about women education, how your institution is carrying out the education program for girl students. Kindly share your views, Dr. Nazia madam. So ma'am, it's a very prominent question. Like in India, in our area also, in our Northeast, girls are educated less, the percentage is pretty less. It has been a traditional thing, like girls need not to study, but thankfully we do have guests like Dr. Humi ma'am and Dr. Nazia ma'am, who are so much educated and who can give lectures related to this topic. So we are really obliged to have you people. So ma'am, let's have your view on this.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Devabrata, for asking such type of question. There must be such type of question that which we can address. Yes, though we are some of the female members are there, but it is only countable. Okay, so as you have already known that my college is only related to the women's girls college, and it's in a rural area. We are facing lots of problem. The major problem is the dropout of the students, dropout of the girl student. Other than the other social barriers also, there is an issue that in case of choosing, in case of decision making related to the males, that means the boy or a girl, the parents, the most of the time, they prefer to expense, or they prefer to do anything related with the boy, not with the girls. As a result, there is a more number of dropout in the girls' higher studies. If we go through the statistics, we'll find in the higher studies or in the higher position, there will be this 2% to the 5% limited number of female who are in the highest position or who are in that type of positions or in a higher education sector. So one of the reason is the dropping or the decision making. So in that regard, I will request all the female who are interested to study, who want to continue their study, they must decide themselves that yes, we are, for any reason, for any social barrier, we are there. We will overcome that. That decision is important. That info is important, and our institution, along with the academic sector, we are encouraging the girl students to come out to decide for themselves. They have to decide that okay, we will continue our study. This is the most important motto. They have to have to take the one type of oath that any type of barrier will come up with that. So in that way, we are working along with the education sector. In the academic sector, we are also working on the awareness of the women's education, and other activities also done by the women's college in Khairul Sabegum Women's College, Badarpur.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am is really doing a great job by awareing the parents. So it's a responsibility of both the parties, the girl child also and the parents also. Parents should really understand now the situation has changed, the era has changed. Girls need to study. They need to study to become independent, and girls should also be like they should force their parents that they want to study further also in the higher studies, as India has the highest dropout rate in the higher education, especially with girls. So Dilip Difosha has asked a question. The most of the students from rural areas, there is no any facility like online communication. They are deceived from education, electronic system. I think it should be more important by the government for the poor students first. Yeah, so we have already discussed this point, I think, in the first question. And yeah, it is a thing for the government to look out for. Like more than teachers, it is the responsibility of the like administration block of the universities, of the higher institutions, and of the government to look out these situations, because they have to look out like which rural areas are facing these types of problems. They don't have any network connectivity. They don't have access to smartphones. So there are various problems. They don't have financial access to these things. So I think it's a responsibility of the government. You're right. And moving forward, I think Hussain Noor has one more question. So sir has asked, the number of students are using more mobile than the early, and if the students are facilitated with the advanced technology, how side effects may be maximum than minimum, though it's blessing but need to be under proper guidance as well, proper system. So adding to this, at last I'd like to ask Miss Humi ma'am that yeah, it is a blessing, this technology thing, but nowadays students spend their whole day like watching YouTube videos, playing games, using social sites. So their whole day is being spent in that mobile phone, in that device, in that electronic device that they are using, right? So if we'll shift to this electronic thing, like if we'll provide notes, like let's don't assume this COVID situation. Let's assume that we are in a normal situation. So nowadays we are moving towards this electronic era. We are giving notes through WhatsApp. Teachers are giving assignments and notes through emails. So this thing is being going on. So if the student is not even spending his time or her time in library reading books, then that habit will go after some years. So that person would not know what is outside the world, like what is outside his house. He'll spend his whole day and night in the house only. He'll not know what is there outside the box. So we need that exposure thing also. So ma'am, what is your view on that? We should have a balance, I think.
Yeah, we need to have a balance, because too much of anything is bad. We need to have adequate amount and the positive amount. We eat food for our survival, but if we overdose with food, again, we're going to face a lot of issues. So medicine is good for us, but overdosage is bad. So in the same way, as earlier already I had stated that I have taken online mode as a blessing, but at the same time, I cannot, of course, I cannot neglect the negative side of it. We should not fall into that digital trap, the negative sides of it. So that is already there, whether it is the present pandemic times or not. From before, this problem is already there. And if you see, most of the children, even small babies, they are, I mean, just with a mobile phone the whole day. My small niece is having the same issue. So parents are worried about the eyesight of the children, and these issues are already there. And um, therefore, we have to keep a check on all these issues. And if we are not able to do that, then of course it will become a big problem. We cannot, of course, say that it is all roses and all, I mean, positive side. There are, of course, many, I mean, negative side to that. But specifically for the teaching learning process, we cannot underestimate the power of online mode, and that is why I said it is a blessing. So we should just keep a check that we do not fall into the digital trap. Especially, we should keep a check on the younger children.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think Mr. Hussain Noor has got his answer regarding this question. So the next question would be for Ms. Nazia, ma'am, that I'd like to ask you is that in college, especially like in colleges, students tend to take private tuitions. I'd like to ask why it is like that. Like in universities, like Miss Humi ma'am is teaching in Guwahati University. So in universities, students don't take private tuitions often. But in colleges, like I've also studied in college in Silchar, so students do take private tuitions. I have also taken, so I can't hide that fact. So why is that? Where is the education system lacking? What is the exact reason behind that? Is it the timetable? Is it the routine? Is it the teachers? Or what is that?
Okay, I like to answer in that way that I'm lucky enough that I have gone through such an institution. As all of you know, I am an alumni of GNV Kachar. So we are in that situation. Whenever we come out from the schools, we firstly understand that the students need to take tuitions. For us, it's a dream. Why it is needed. So in the course of time, I observe that in the universities also, we don't need any tuitions and all.
Yeah.
But in course of time, I have observed that in the government sector institution or other nearby institution, the teaching mode or the classroom teaching it's not effective. It's not that much of satisfactory. So it's not the fault of, I think, students, it's the fault of the teachers, because they are not getting the appropriate thing in the physical classroom. That's why the same batch is moving to the tuition. The same teacher is moving to the tuition for many purposes. They are going to that, and in that scenario, students have to. They are aware. They have to take the good mark. They have to get the knowledge. So they are choosing that path to get the things. But I think it's the fault of his teacher. So in that today's program, I will request all the teachers, please, I know in the 21st century, there is a number of problems related to the teachers, but we must be in our moral values should be kept to be undisturbed by the other things. If you are choosing teaching as a profession, don't choose it by force. Choose it by your choice. If it's by your choice, then such type of problems will not come. I think so. I suppose so. And other thing, if this scenario will change, then everything will be changed. This problem will be overcome. And if we go through the private sector in my college also, there is no such option that the student have to go to the tuitions, because our classroom teachings, our online teaching are such an awesome that students are getting the rank also under the Assam University, but they are not going for any such type of tuitions. So I believe that if the effective teaching is done in the classroom, the student will not move to the tuition and other things. Okay. Is it Manas?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You have rightly said these things. Like it's the responsibility of the teacher. Like it's not necessary to conduct private tuitions. They do it for their commercial purposes and there are various reasons, it has become a business. It has become a trend
Yeah.
now. Like students go to tuitions. So thank you, ma'am. You have correctly said
That's,
this. So
uh, that's why I've said that teachers must choose their profession by choice, not by force.
yes, ma'am. Rightly said. So I think in this Teachers' Day, we are giving a lesson to the teachers also. Like, don't choose your profession by force. Just if you want to do it, then you should choose it. So the next question that Debabrata Langtasa is asking is, as everyone know about the NEP, that is New Education Policy in this 2020. So my question to both madam, kindly explain merits of NEP to Humit Hausen Hashnu. Kindly explain demerits of Dr. Nazia Parvin Rini madam, how NEP will change in building the nation, how the role of teacher and student will change after NEP. So he is asking merits to Miss Humi ma'am and demerits to Miss Nazia ma'am. I think it's pretty interesting. I think new education policy has got some advantages, but India has always faced this problem that we are good with theoretics, but we are bad in practicals. We make many sections, articles, amendments, but when it comes to the ground level, we lack there. So the face of this new education policy, it looks like pretty beautiful, but inside that, like we say, Surat achhi ho na ho, but Sirat achhi honi chahiye. So I think the practical application should be good. So Homi ma'am, if you would uh, reflect some light on this new education policy thing.
Okay. New to be speaking on new education policy 2020, it would take a lot of time because it has vast number of statements to and most of them are debatable. I would like to just point out to highlight the merit. One thing that comes to my mind, which has come in NEP 2020, is that of the ability of students to be able to do research right after their degree. That is, instead of opting for PG, BA 1+1+1, and then they can opt for one more year in research. That way, they can easily get into research activities. So this is merit in one hand and also demerit on the other side. Although I have been asked to talk just about merit, but I can point out both merit and demerit here. The merit is that it becomes it is an advantage for the student to be able to complete the whole course with an addition of one more year, where the course of degree is completed and then you also get the experience of research. That gives you a guidance for that totally give that the whole time span gives you both research and your degree at the same time. This is a merit. But at the same time, the demerit is, if this is an option, how many of the students are going to opt for PG? How many of them will go for PG if they can just jump to research directly? So is this really going to benefit the students jumping directly to research? Yes, it is going to, but is it going to really help them by skipping PG and going to research? So that is something we can debate upon, and I think there are a lot of things, other points as well, but this is one that strikes me right now.
Rightly said, ma'am. I think we must not forget the prime purpose of research. What is really research? Like, you have to invent something new. Like nowadays, students just join PG, PhD, so that they can have that research, and after that they can have a job of professor like that. But I think the main purpose of research is to invent something new in your particular subject, in your particular discipline. So are our students ready? The students of our country, we lack in this thing. Like we don't have that practical knowledge. So research is a thing that is given after PG in PhD. So that is a procedure that has been running these years, and there's a reason behind that. So reciprocating that, like now in few months, it will affect majorly the students. Like they would take it impulsively, but after that they may face problems, some serious consequences of it, because they will want to take it, those things. So Jinali Vorisa is asking one question. In the era of competition, where marks are getting much more weightage than the quality of a student, many average students who are getting 40 to 50% marks fail to secure rank in the top colleges of the region. This results in many students going through depression or even suicide. So what are your views on that? Do you think that ranking on the basis marks should be stopped? So this is a question for Nazia ma'am. So this
Yes,
is
sir.
really a very serious issue, a very serious issue. Students are committing suicide in our country. The rate is pretty high. They get depressed if they can't score ranking in NIT, in CE, JEE exams. There are various exams. They want to qualify for NIT, IIT, SMCs. So ma'am, what is your thinking on that? How you take this
Yes.
subject as?
Yes, first of all, though, I would like to say that the question, I will like to reverse the question. Or to answer that question, first of all, we have to understand what is success. If success is determined by the percentage and all, it's not like that. If the backbencher can be successful, so if success is important, if a student's his goal is to success in his or her life, then marks is not important. Why the students are going for the marks? They have to make the goal that we have to succeed in our life. For succession, no marks is important. Okay, there are many such examples for the top high rankers, the IS officers who have the backbencher, who have sometimes some motivational stories. We will find that they have sometimes in the third division in matric, but they are in the IS officers. So I think the question should be like that, that what's the definition of success? If student understand that the success is not important or success is not determined by the percentage, the problem of depression, problem of suicide will automatically comes down. Okay, this is the one point. Another point is uh, if we are not succeeding in one path, we the major people who are in now in front page, we have to give a awareness to the upcoming generation, to the student, that there are number of ways. If you are not succeeding in one path, there are number B, there are C, there are any number of ways we have to take that. So the awareness is important, that there is number of multi approach, holistic approach are there, multi things are there, that if you are not succeeding in one line, you can go for the other one. That should be encouraged to the next generation. We have to aware that this our responsibility, like the fraternity who are now working, they have to give a lesson, the teachers, they have to aware the student that it's not only the marks, it's not only the job, there are a number of things, there are a number of ways which we can approach, we can take as, and we can succeed in our life. If you are not getting a chance in NEET, you are not getting a chance JEE, it's not a big deal. You can go for the other things, you can go for the other options. There are like RJs, there are entertainment industries, there are the fashion designing, there are the MSW, BSW, there are a number of things you can approach for that. So you have to be aware of the things which are available nowadays. It's the 21st century. There are a number of things you have to aware the people and students also. They have to decide among the different things. If plan A is not successful, we can go for the plan B. We can go for the different plan. That must be encouraged.
Okay,
I think
ma'am
ma'am
has
is
some issue.
disconnected because of because of network issue. So we'll like to connect after some time with ma'am. So Lucky Kempra has asked one question. So Humi ma'am, you would like to answer this. Why most of the parents choose private schools over government school? Like nowadays, there is a compassion in the parents that they want to take private schools. They are better in a sense. It's a truth. I think private schools are better nowadays compared with government schools. So what is the reason behind that? Are the parents right? Is the perspective right? I should ask like that.
In my opinion, I would say this is a trend because most of the time we see that the teachers in private institutions are in a more, you can say, no offense to any the other teachers, but in a private institution you will see that there is a little, I mean, more pressure on them to have this whole disciplinarian kind of discourse. So they give very strict attention towards the teacher, towards the students, and it seems that the students get more attention. And also now, since the whole many of the students, it is also a fault of the education system, I would say, but not entirely. Again, it is not entirely upon us to blame it, but one point is that this so-called exam-based kind of education system. That is the reason the reason for the earlier question also, why there are suicides of students, because there are actually, education should be knowledge based, but there is another thing called exam based, where marks count. So if you do not score those marks, you will not be able to get the degree. So of course this is applicable for any kind of education system, but the force, the pressure on this so-called exam-centric thing should actually change. And of course, we know there are certain things where the whole planning, the whole education policy may has demerits, but we cannot blame it entirely on the the government also. We have to be aware, like Nazia Ba had said earlier, awareness is important. If one is aware about the importance, why are we actually taking this degree? Yes, we need a job in future, of course, but is that all? Is that the whole value of studying? Is that the whole motive of having this degree? So we should try to make our whole education system a more knowledge based system. So coming to that question, probably people are opting more for private institutions, because if you observe the teachers there, they are paying, you can say, I would again not like to generalize it. There are many government institutions where teachers give very good attention, but many of the cases, you will see that private schools have this extra attention paid to the students. And I have had the opportunity to have worked in a private college, as well as now, of course, in Guwahati University. So I have seen there in the private institution the amount of course, anywhere else the teacher is supposed to do the duty, but in a private institution the teacher has to actually look into individual attention. And if the even notes have to be provided, so since that notes is again based on that exam centric education system, students want notes. That is why they're going for tuitions, for the earlier question as well. So this whole thing is interconnected. So I would say that it should not be like this. Actually, government schools should also have teachers well trained.
1+7
Ba is trying to join.
Ma'am, can you hear me? Nazia ma'am, can you hear me? Hello? Nazia ma'am, can you hear me?
1+7 দেখা আগে কানেক্টেড নাই জানা তাড়াতাড়ি এখন
Ma'am, can you hear me? Nazia ma'am,
I think
there's some
hear
network
us,
issue.
but we can.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. Ma'am, you can continue with your answer.
So basically, what I'm trying to say is that this should change. This whole notion of these schools are better than the other schools. Yes, I understand what are the circumstances that lead to this, but we should also know that this is not correct. So I would say the solution to this would be proper training to teachers, irrespective of what whether they come from private institutions or from government institutions. Good teacher education is important. Then we can ensure that the students will, whichever institution they opt for, they will be benefited.
Thank you, ma'am, for your answer. I think this question has been by Lucky Kemprai, and she has got the answer. I think this is a very evident question. Difference between private schools and government schools. There are many points that can be considered under this. So Maibangsha Bidyaraj has said this, that ranking is important. Without ranking, how can we take out the best from the total students? To eradicate depression, we need to understand their areas of interest. For instance, if a student is interested in music, then he should be studying music, not science. The problem of depression comes from the misunderstanding of the students' areas of interest. Yeah, rightly said, Maibangsha Bidyaraj. I think Dr. Nazia ma'am said the same thing. Like the students should know their part of interest, in which department, in which discipline they want to take, and they can follow that respectively. So that should be clear in a student's mind. So moving on, Anjoy Kemprai has asked a question. In addition, questionnaire from my side to the new education policy that Devabrata Langtasa had questioned and that you have answered and clearly said that one can do research straight away after a degree course. My question to you, ma'am, is that will that policy be implemented to the students who will pass out their degree in the year 2021? So, ma'am, it's an informative question. That person wanna know that thing after the 2021. Is it available? That research thing.
I think you should go through the policy, then it will be more clear, because to speak on this, it will be again, it is not possible to explain the whole thing. So you go through the whole, file of the policy 2020, you will understand it.
Thank you, ma'am. So next question by Maiba Bidyaraj. Today the questions are flooding. Thank you, people, for taking such active participation in this Teachers' Day special. Thank you very much. So Maibangsha Bidyaraj is asking this question. Change is important regarding examinations as said. So my question is, how will we change it? So this question is also very important. So Nazia ma'am, would you like to answer this? Like we all talk about this, right? The change is necessary. This should be done. This should be done. But how? The question lies how. How can we do it? The problems we all know. But what is the solution? What should be the solution? What should be the steps and procedures to follow so that we can come up with an optimum solution?
Okay, so in the change of the question pattern, so question in probably in the way of testing the knowledge, instead of giving a question, direct question, or by the observation, student have to write the questions and answer. In such way, the question pattern, we can work on the question pattern, setup of the question. In that sense also we can change the examination way. Another one is that already CBCS has both the way the internal and the external exam procedure. This is one of the changes brought in the examination sector, and in the other ways also, like examination in throughout the year. Throughout the year, in the sense the project wise, assessment wise, seminar wise, there should be a seminar based content from the very beginning, from the degrees onwards. So in that manner also we can change the exam procedure. The exam should be oriented to give a knowledge to the student, not for the promotion or to secure the marks. So in that scenario, we can involve maximum student participation in practical way, maybe in teaching process, through the classroom observation or through the seminars, through the other project submission, through making small dissertation, or through the small research projects also. We can approach in that way also. So I think NAP have such type of process. So that's why we are in a situation where we have to accept the change, and there is a well-known proverb or well-known theory that survival of the fittest. in this pandemic situation or any other situation, we are able to cope up with the change, then only we'll succeed, then only we will survive. So survival of the fittest is nowadays is in an arena that we in such stage that we have to give us the time, gives the maximum to the society, to our nation, to our surroundings. That way only we can be survive. It's the situation of survival of the fittest. Then thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You rightly said survival of the fittest. In this world of cutthroat competition, जिसे हम बोलते हैं गला काट competition, everyone is like they want to reach to the top. So the structure is being made like a pyramid. So the people who are standing in the lowest position, they are being crunched heavily. So everyone wants to go to the top. And in this race, the pattern, the modes need to be changed, need to be molded in a certain way. So as ma'am said, like in our CBSE also, like when I used to study in the school, we have that part in the question paper, like value-based question, where the questions used to be like very long, 10,
Value-based
12
questions.
lines long. And the students, their minds were blown. Like they can't understand the thing because they have no practical thing in that. They only know it theoretically. If the question is direct, they can answer it directly. But if the question is value-based, then they don't know it. Their minds are nil. They are blank. They don't know how to answer that. So they first read the question, which is 10 to 12 lines long. Actually, the answer is related to their syllabus only. But so this is the trend in our country. The education system has been very faulty. So the faulty education system needs to be changed. Like the ma'am said, the question pattern, a slight changes would do many things. Like slight question change patterns will lead us to score in a more better way. Like we'll have more of knowledge, and imparting knowledge is the main essence of education, as we all know. So moving on to the next part, I'd like to ask Humi ma'am, like we all know about the Delhi model. CM Kejriwal applied that in the Delhi model education, that zero classes, which is of I think 30 minutes before the prayer, before the morning assembly, they have this I think zero classes. Sorry, I said a wrong word. Zero classes. So in that, the students are being taught of the primary classes about how to have that entrepreneurial mindset in them. Now, entrepreneur doesn't mean businessman. Students generally coincide with these terms. So these two things are different. A businessman who does trade, but having an entrepreneurial mindset means innovative thinking. And the students should be innovative from their childhood only. That upbringing should be made in them. And with education only, this can be brought up in them. So this zero classes thing is a very nice thing. Maharashtra is, I think, also trying to adopt it. And in worldwide also, this model of Delhi government school is being very hyped. So, ma'am, I'd like to ask you this question: that should it be applied all over the country, as it's a very unique concept, and students should have that mindset from their childhood only. So, is that a zero class can be applied? Is it necessary, or there can be some other changes in the syllabus, or I think some other classes related to sports or other thing which can enhance the academics part, as students can't only be taught about the syllabus only, which is of very little use after we come up to the real world, which has so many challenges.
Yes, you're very correct. If it is applied all over the country, it will be very beneficial. If not exactly as it is going on in Delhi, at least the approach should be such that the students from the very beginning of their school life, they should be made aware of what are their inner talents, what are their interests, what can they do, how can they serve the nation, and that cannot. This is actually a major problem at the present times, because most of the students, they are not being able to choose their streams. Even after they pass their matriculation, they do not know what to opt for, and even if they choose their streams later on, what to specialize, which discipline to take up for. So this is the whole dilemma arises because of our unawareness and unpreparedness. The student has been just directly put into the whole plethora of the specific subjects that everyone has to study, but he or she is not being made aware of what he or she can excel in, right? His talent, where can he show his excellence? So it can be somewhere outside the syllabus also. So you've said rightly that the Chief Minister of Delhi has taken the right approach here, because this is going to help the children realize their own, talents from their young age. And countries like, I don't know about others, but I'm sure about Japan, they are adopting something like this, because of which they know from a very young age what career they want to pursue in future. So they learn about that career from that early stage itself. That helps them to get there more efficiently. They are being able to pay attention to that particular career uh, in a more focused manner. But here the case is different, because we are not aware, right? We do not know where I should go to, what career I should pursue. If someone says, what is your aim in life? You may have a certain aim in life, but you are not sure if you're going to do well in it or not, or if it is really meant for you or not. So if something like this is adopted, as in Delhi, then it will definitely give a lot of benefit. And this is one major change that should come in the whole education system of India.
Thank you very much, ma'am. You have explained correctly about this the zero classes thing in Delhi government school. I think it should be applied all over the country. If some state has taken a great initiative, we all should praise it, right? Irrespective of all the political reasons, if that step is really good, then we should appreciate it. That should be the real thing, keeping all the political agendas behind aside. So Nazia ma'am, I'd like to ask you a question, and this would be the last question, as we have crossed the time frame of 1 hour, which is being given to us. So the last question that I'd like to ask is, the topic of today is the role of teacher in shaping and building the nation. So the topic is this: we need to build the nation, and teacher shapes the personality of a student. So in India, education sets the culture of our country. What we learn, we become like that. So that is the thing. But in our country, the literacy rate is increasing, that's a fact. But with that, crime rates are also increasing. Persons who have studied so much, they become bankrupts, they leave the country, and leave our country in such a miserable position that our banks become bankrupt. So these are the conditions of our country. And one situation is that if a student learns something, if he is a little bit educated, then he sees the other uneducated people as if they are somebody, like they don't know anything, and they just scrunch them, like they feel like that they are the god. So what is this with India? Like the students feel like this, like education is not a proud thing to have. If you're educated, that's good, but if you're not, then you should be not like this. Your behavior must be down to earth. But in India, the students tend to have this attitude, and it's in our culture only. We have inherited this from our generations only. We have learned this thing, we have observed this thing, and we are taking this forward. So how can we build a nation when we are getting literate, but at the same time the crime rates are increasing and we are becoming like that? So ma'am, can you reflect your points on this?
Naziba, I think you have put on mute. You're not audible.
Hello, Nazia ma'am.
Hello, I'm audible?
Yes ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes ma'am, now you can say.
So first of all, thank you for such question, and we are lucky that in such a topic invited us for the discussion. So I will say that this is a major issues nowadays, because as far as the education rate is going higher, the crime rate is also going higher. Somewhere it is pointing that the teachers of the nation are not doing their duties in perfect way, because if a teacher built the students from the class 1 and up to the 10, then the 11, 12, then other classes also, if we are able to give other than the academic arena, if we are able to give and moral values to the students, then I think the problems related with the disorganization of the societies, the other things will minimize. Somewhere the teachers are not perfectly doing their duties. In that arena, I can understand that because of the materialistic things, teachers are more oriented towards the other things, in spite of the thing that we should give the moral values to the students. So somewhere it's our fault that we are not able to give a moral values to the students, which is ultimately impacting the nation. As wisdom from our ancient literature also, teachers plays a very important role. After the parents only, the teachers position, that student is coming in relation with the teachers. So it's our duty to build the perfect shape to give a moral values to the students. If it is failing somewhere, then it is our fault. And to overcome that, I will again say that all the teacher must have the feelings that whenever student is coming in the institution, they come in an intention of study. They come to learn. But we have to build them in such a way that after exiting from the institution, they must have the motive there to serve the nation. One has to come to learn motive, and they have to go with a serving motive. If we are able to complete these tasks, then I think we will be successful in building and shaping the nation. Then student will come in a motive to learn, and they will go with the motive of service. If we succeed in that way, then I think we'll be able to give a good future to the nation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
You have correctly said these things. You have explained in a very good manner. Like moral education is a must. In schools only, from the first class, there should be moral education. We are teaching students about businesses, how to earn profit, but they must know what is the right way to earn profit. If they are hurting someone, if they are crunching someone for their own purpose, for their own profit, then it is not right. So the moral education part should be there. It is a must from the primary educations only. So Maibangsha Bidyaraj has said, thank you, Razia ma'am, for answering my question. It's Nazia actually. It's Nazia ma'am. It's not R, it's N. So Maibangsha Bidyaraj, it's Nazia ma'am. And nonetheless, thank you, Maibangsha Bidyaraj, for asking these questions, and thank you all the viewers for asking these much questions. This shows how you love your teachers, how much you love, how much you have affection for your teachers, and you have a very sweet connection with your teachers. I think that's why there have been so many questions, and I'd like to thank these two guests, Humi ma'am and Nazia ma'am. I'm really blessed to have you both here and answering this question so beautifully. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, Humi ma'am. Thank you very much, Nazia ma'am.
Thank you.
And thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It's my pleasure. Maibangsha Bidyaraj has said, okay, Nazia ma'am. Oh, yeah. So now you have understood this. It's Nazia ma'am. So thank you very much, Maibangsha Bidyaraj. Lucky Kempra is saying, thank you, Humi ma'am and Nazia ma'am. Thank you very much, Lucky. You have also asked a question. And some people have asked 3 to 4 questions. Actually, I was not able to read out all the questions. I'm really sorry for that. We have crossed the time frame, and some people have asked 3 to 4 questions, but we can't take all the questions of yours because other people are also asking. So really sorry for that. And with this, I'd like to... Yes, ma'am.
Maybe it's a knock that you have to organize another session.
Yes, ma'am. I think we need to have... Yes, ma'am. I think your demand is much more here. People are asking questions.
Yeah. According to the we have just said according to the student centric. So according to the viewer centric, we have to organize such session. Then only the awareness will
Yes,
come.
ma'am.
I think so.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Column Express they are doing the wonderful job. So I congratulate you for that.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm really pleased to hear this, and I'm really blessed to have you people here. So with this, I'd like to end this conversation and this live session here. Thank you very much to the guests. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.